Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, maybe, if you're in Europe, I guess. Welcome to another episode, our second episode, really, of our rebranding of the EOSwriter podcast, where we are generally trying to focus on EOS and go back to the Cryptowriter or EOSwriter foundational roots of being basically one of the first media outlets to come back in the space. There's a lot going on in the EOS space right now. And so we thought for our second episode, we would bring on Daniel Keys, who you might know as the CEO of EOS Nation, also pretty, entrenched in what's going on with Pomelo, which we're on the verge of season 2. Also involved with some EOS NFTs with .gems and a bunch of other, things in the space. So thanks for joining us, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk about EOS. There's tons of stuff going on. I'm excited to have my toes dipped in a few of them, and excited to be here to talk about it.
So I think the last time you and I talked was probably, for the Pomelo season 1 grants. We did a little bit of an interview for that. So I would imagine that most people know who you are. Although like Cryptowriter has kind of went through a little bit of a rebranding themselves. And so they've kind of incorporated a lot of, new members from over in Ethereum and over on Terra with some of their NFT lines. So maybe if you could just give us a little bit of a rundown, Daniel, who are you and who is EOS Nation and what the heck do they have to do with Pomelo?
Sure. So as you said, CEO of EOS Nation. EOS Nation is a block producer on EOS, or at least we started. I would say we're much more than a block producer. We started strictly as a block producer. For those less familiar with the EOS ecosystem, we're kind of like a miner on the EOS blockchain, elected by token holders to operate the nodes on the network, to secure the network, to be the custodian of the EOS network. I joined EOS Nation. It's been over 4 years now. Just as an EOS community member, excited about blockchain technology and specifically what EOS brought to the blockchain space and the potential to bring what I saw was the best hope at bringing mainstream adoption to the types of things we were seeing happen, but being possible with blockchain. So bringing a new paradigm where people are more in control of their own destiny, own the fruits of their own labor. I was opened my eyes to that when I discovered Bitcoin, and then when I discovered EOS, over 4 years ago, it was like, wow, it's much bigger than finance. There's all the other use cases out there that I think EOS is in a very good position to be able to solve. And I just started hosting meetups in my local community just to find people to talk to about it. And that's how I met the rest of the EOS Nation co-founders. There's seven of us who founded EOS Nation. And when EOS first launched, there was this idea of there's a lot of history all wrapped up here. One of the things that interested me in EOS is its potential to create a community that could fund itself to solve these problems. There was hope of a worker proposal system. 4% inflation was going to be going to a savings account with a treasury for the community to spend on building the public goods that would bring this mission to life. But one of the earliest ways to get involved in this ecosystem is to become a block producer. The mechanism to fund public goods had not been developed yet. Really, the only way to get involved was to be a block producer. So that's how I started. I joined other like-minded people mostly from Canada too. We formed the EOS Nation. And we started working on the things that we thought we could bring value with the skills that we had.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I recall back in those days as well, you guys were kind of one of the champions for the EOS worker proposal system, if I have that correct. And that was one of the earliest kind of mechanisms that came out with you and a few of the other block producers to be able to actually get funding, although that never really took as it was intended, but you took a lot of things from a lot of other EOSIO chains. But then, I think, I forget why that failed exactly, but I think that we drew back the funds or something.
Yeah, we never reached the threshold. So yeah, we started to get very community focused. So initially everything we were doing, like we started an ambassador program. We were hosting meetups. One of the things that I brought to the table was kind of project management skills. And we saw, okay, we mentioned there was this idea of there being a worker proposal system. We had inflation going towards a savings account, but we didn't have a system in place to allocate that money. We had the white paper talked about it. The funds were flowing to the savings account, but there was no system in place to vote on how do we spend this money, for example. So that was one of the first projects we got involved in outside of the community stuff we were doing, was coordinating with other stakeholders and developers and block producers in the ecosystem to build actually it was a referendum system. And the idea for the referendum system was to get token holders to be able to vote on what that mechanism might be that would unlock the spending of the savings account. So we needed a way for the network to come to consensus on what is the process that we use for unlocking and distributing these funds. And what the white paper, so we kind of followed the EOS white paper's guidance here, which the plan was that in order to enact any changes through a referendum, you need 15% of token holders or 15% of the token weight staked to that decision. So we built a system that allowed, you put up a proposal, people could vote based on their token weight. That would kind of, that their vote would have a weight based on their stake. What happened with that first attempt was we were never able to reach the threshold. We weren't able to attract enough stake to vote for any of the proposals that were put forward through this referendum system. So we went back to the drawing board. Pomelo is I would say maybe the third or fourth attempt, if you count the work we've done on other chains, to create this, a funding mechanism, a way to use the public funds to fund our public goods. The second attempt, we tried doing it was basically another kind of crowdfunding platform, a grant platform where people could propose grant proposals. And the design for that system would have been that block producers could vote on which grants get approved. Again, we failed to get the appropriate stakeholder buy-in to get that off the ground. And then finally, through lots of collaboration with various stakeholders, getting it funded, watching what was happening in Ethereum, we came to the quadratic funding solution with Pomelo. And then we got a grant from Block One to build it, and since then we've got now the ENF providing the matching funds to continue operating it.
Yeah, so as Charlie points out here too, right? Like he's just an average Joe, or Charlie, I guess. But he was able to actually help out some projects that he liked and propose and get funding for them. Which is quite different from what you guys were looking at back in the worker proposal system, because it did actually cost a fair bit of money, if I recall quickly, to be able to put that up, right? Because you wanted to limit spam. And you could do it over and over and over again if you didn't get the funding in the WPS, but you didn't actually get the funds. If I recall, and
there's a few different things
was unlocked, right?
Yeah. So the first design we had, it was you would pitch. You would ask for a specific budget, and the vote would essentially be yes, no. So if you asked for too much, you'd get voted no and you'd get nothing. And you'd lose your, we had like you said, to prevent spam, there would be a cost to put up a proposal because there's a cost to reviewing every proposal. There was also some concerns about, giving more rather than having block producers be the one who have to say, how can we get the, more of the average token holder to have a say on what gets funded. So I think
and Pomelo kind of solves both of these issues, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's, you can put up any proposal you want. There's no budget associated to the proposal, so that the community will decide how much your proposal is worth based on how much they donate to it. The more people who donate to it, the more matching pool you get, and it gives everyone an opportunity. There's no cost to participate, so anyone can put up a proposal for no cost. Maybe, maybe you got some wild idea. You decide to put up a proposal and get surprised by the support you get from the community. Maybe it's not enough support to build the whole thing, but maybe it's enough to build the first prototype or the first proof that you're actually on the right track to building something. And then again, we have 4 seasons with Pomelo every year. We do every three months. There's another round for Pomelo. So you can take what you did in one season and carry it over to the next and keep building on it. And all you got to do is convince the community that it's worth, taking a bit of a chance on. Even it could be a wild idea. One of the beauties with, again, if it's a small budget, there's not a big risk. Some of the, what we might have seen on the other proposal system is, giant proposals, big, if they get funded and it fails, it's a big loss. Whereas again, with Pomelo, the way it's structured, little by little, people can chip away at a big, ambitious, and they don't have to convince the community of it all at once. They just have to convince enough of the community to fund the little piece of it. And what we've learned with building Pomelo is seeing is believing. So as you build little piece by piece, the community is getting a chance to see it, to play with it, to discover the opportunity that maybe was too wild of a concept to get through someone's head without them actually having a chance to play with it.
Corey, you haven't ever had any wild concepts that people thought were crazy, have you?
If you do, but I mean, that's the MVP thing sings to me. I mean, that's like we deal with this in our dev team all the time, right? Like we want to produce the smallest version of this that can be tested, right? Because like we think it's an awesome idea, and sometimes they even are awesome ideas. But getting to that point, you learn so much, and then you're not 6 months into a dev schedule and you find out that the whole thing you're doing is wrong.
Totally. Like you can have this big grand vision. You build, spend 6 months building it, and then you find out the thing that you built nobody actually wants. So if you can build a small, test just to put it in front of some people, you learn from how they interact with it. You change your whole strategy. So I imagine we're going to be seeing a lot of that. I've had some people asking me about, we had a lot of people participate in season 1, lay out these grants. They didn't necessarily raise as much as they planned to. And I think some people are worried, now I have to deliver what I said I was going to deliver on season 1. And what we're trying to do with Pomelo is actually give everyone the opportunity to pivot and adjust in season 2. So, you said you were going to do this in season 1, you raised this much money, but I'm sure you learned something through that process. You weren't able to raise as much as you wanted to. You raised a little bit. You raised enough to build some prototype. The reaction to that prototype wasn't quite what you expected. So it would not be good for you in season 2 to just keep going down that same path you promised just because that's what you promised. Ideally, and what you do in season 2 is you update your pitch. You say, hey, thanks for funding me in season 1. I was able to do this experiment and I learned. And as a result of my learning, I'm adjusting my proposal now. to focus more on this thing. And I imagine we're going to see people's projects kind of get refined round over round through those learnings, which again, with that, that might not have been as possible with our first design of a grant system where, you scope the whole project out up front, try to get all it funded, it flops, and now you're out. You don't get another chance.
Well, and again, like I think if I recall correctly, because I did write a little bit extensively on that WPS thing, I think it was built in so that you had these benchmarks that you had to meet by a certain timeline, and if you didn't meet them, then the next portion of the funding wouldn't get released. So there actually was no ability to go back and change your mind, right? To incorporate that new information from the community where there is in Pomelo. So I think that just makes it all the better too, right?
Yeah, there are no the benchmarks in Pomelo are the community. It's like, hey, you want to get unlock more funding from the community, convince them that you're on the right path. And I think you're going to be more successful convincing them if you can show them that you're capable of pivoting when the evidence is showing you that that's the right way to go. So we're super excited to see that for the first time. Now with going into season 2, for the first time, we're going to see grants carry over from season 1 to season 2. And it'll be interesting to see how much, if they pivot, how these grants evolve, how many people go completely back to the drawing board, how many people come with completely new pitches. So, a lot of the work we've been doing preparing for season 2 is kind of making that process smooth and easy for returning grant owners, having a way for them to edit and opt in to continue to the next season. And we're working on ways so that the community can kind of track the history of a grant over time, round over round. They can, see what the pitch was in season 1 and how it changed in season 2, and to help kind of inform that, hey, am I putting my funds to the team that's the best capable of driving a vision and delivering something valuable for the community? Again, ideas are a dime a dozen. Seeing how people take those ideas and actually turn them into something valuable is what I think the community will be wanting to invest in. And again, and I think a big part of Pomelo is giving the community that opportunity to sort of work through and learn and iterate.
Yeah, there's a few projects that I probably won't put funds towards that I did last time because I don't know of the progress that they've made.
Mm-hmm.
And they might have, but like if you got money from Pomelo and you're planning on doing a second grant, I would suggest that now is the time to start putting out articles or media to showcase what you've done. Because like for me, for example, if I gave you some funds because I had you on the channel and I haven't heard about anything that you're doing, you're probably not going to get those funds again. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just putting it out there, right? Like, there's lots of funds that we have seen been enacted. We had John from Boyd on the channel last week, and he was talking about what they had done with their funds. We had Dan from Immersives actually, which Charlie Hugh headed up his proposal on the channel last week, and we kind of know where those funds went. So I would suggest, like with the Pomelo season 2 on the verge of things, start putting out your media now. That's going to be really important for your funding for the next round, right? Corey, we should do gratitudes because I'm grateful for I'm grateful for Daniel, but I'm also grateful for progressive change and adaptation, because like I think what you guys have went through in this process, where you started with EOS Nation to be able to get to the point where we actually have funding from a $4 billion ICO speaks volumes, really. So yeah, I think
I'll pull the game up while I'm doing that. Daniel, can you give us an example of a project that has is maybe exemplifying the kind of process that you're outlining?
Well, it's hard to say because we haven't had season 2 yet, so I'm still kind of waiting to see. I would say and I don't know if I have any examples off the top of it, but I've had people reach out to me, ask those questions like, hey, I didn't raise as much as I was, hoping to. Am I now committed to what I said? And again, the answer I would give them is no, I don't think so. Really, it's not up to me. It's up to the community.
Right.
But I would say probably the community will appreciate you just explain, what we're doing as Pomelo. We're going to give you the opportunity to update your pitch and explain why or how you've evolved your pitch. I can't think of any specific examples. I think we'll kind of wait and see what grant. We haven't had any we haven't opened up the season 2 applications yet.
Okay.
So I'll hopefully be able to answer that better, once we start seeing some applications come in.
Right. All right. Well, I am in the wrong tower, so I'll head over there. While I'm doing that, you can brainstorm what you're grateful for. Yoinks.
How many gratitudes are you guys up to? Do you guys like keep a running tally?
No idea.
I wish we knew, really.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Probably many thousands.
Yeah. This is probably from, I don't know, month 8 or month 9, just this tower, really. Not even, because we didn't even start here. We started somewhere else. So
yep. All right. So Jimmy, you said you had one?
Yeah, I'm grateful for, I forgot it now. I'm grateful for positive momentum and progressive motion forward. If that probably doesn't even fit, really.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
It's very, I'm also grateful for Daniel Keys. So I actually had the opportunity to kind of, work not with EOS Nation, but work with projects, even to this day, various projects that have worked with you guys, writing articles. Some of them aren't even in my name, about things that you guys built in, DeFi and with the WPS. And it was just, you guys are just an amazing team to be a part of. And I think that's like just so underrated in a way. Like everyone knows who you are now, but in the early days, you guys really just killed it. So thank you, Daniel, because you were always a big part of that. Your whole team, is great, both. So yeah, thanks for all you do for the space.
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm super lucky for the team I have. I'm just a small part of an awesome team. And it really comes down to, again, we've got an awesome team who really believes in the mission. What we're trying to build here with EOS. And I think that's a big part of what I love about this community too. The people who are still here in the EOS community really believe in what we're trying to do. And I guess that can go to what I'm grateful for, is for the participation from the community members who are still here in driving towards that mission. Everyone who's participated in Pomelo, either as a grant owner or a donor, everyone who's showing up to the fireside chats every week to talk about what they're working on, you guys for hosting these, everyone participating is such a huge part of what's going to make us able to succeed. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Corey, like a lot of us did, because we were in Wax and other blockchains. I know a lot of the Boy guys and stuff, like they've got links with Telos, and there's a lot of different people who had kind of ported over that had one foot still in the door with EOS. But, I remember Corey saying that he had kind of like stepped out for a while, but like now he's kind of like back with the Eden on EOS. And like I had the advantage of actually being able to host the Pomelo pitch deck episodes, which we talked about before I did it. And that was super fun because I was actually able to like get the first hand rundown from, I can't remember, but almost 15 to 20 different projects about what their proposals were. And honestly, I probably would have I'm going to pat myself on the back here for two reasons. Number one, I probably wouldn't have donated so much if I hadn't have actually done those interviews myself. But I just think it was good for the space for people to be able to hear it rather than just to read through proposals. So, I don't know like how much. I don't know, how much Corey followed the Pomelo grants season 1.
Yeah, I didn't. Clearly, I need to follow more. I don't even, I know. I remember Charlie. Sorry, I didn't support you. I remember him mentioning a couple of times. It's like it's been, pretty busy year. But like, I definitely want to get into it. I want to be, I want to be one of those people that participates more. Because on EOS, I totally haven't. Like, I've been, utterly checked out, focused elsewhere. But I do, whether it's, Uplift or a lot of the other things we're looking at, like getting some kind of presence on EOS is just, it's on our minds now. And so it definitely makes sense to dig in. So I would love it, Jimmy, if I'm allowed, I'd love to come for the next ones if you guys do that again.
Yeah, it would be great to have you for some of them. It'd be awesome, I think. Like, and so I think eventually too, like, what you said is really good, but like I've been thinking about how we can, do this. And one of the nice things that people might not know is that although these Pomelo pitch decks are on EOS, there is kind of a cross-chain EOSIO factor. Maybe you can go into that a little bit as well, because somebody's mentioning wax.io or some of these other chains. Like how is EOSIO, incorporated into the Pomelo, even though it's on EOS, Daniel?
Yeah. So, it's built on EOS. So the donations, you can, as long as you're okay accepting EOS as a form of payment, to be qualified as a grant on Pomelo, all you have to do is be a public good that benefits the EOSIO ecosystem. So, any EOSIO chain, as long as it's a public good, and what a public good is something that anyone can access basically for free. And one person accessing it doesn't prevent or diminish another person's ability to access it. So open source software is a perfect example. A lot of us are building businesses or applications that have components within them that might be usable by other use cases. So one example, we got EOS Starter. They're an EOS launch pad, building a starter launch pad on EOS. That in itself isn't a public good. What they got funded was the funding smart contract, which is a open source component that now anybody else could use to build their own launch pad. Whether they want to build a Wax launch pad or a Talos launch pad or some other type of launch pad on EOS, they can take that building block that EOS Starter is using for their launch pad and then use it in their own use case. So one of the beauties of EOSIO and all these EOS chains are very compatible with each other. So if you are building open source software, there's a strong opportunity, I would say, for you there even as a Wax or a Talos project, building something. Hey, look at what are the pieces of the thing you're building, what can be made more general purpose, and how might you make that available to anyone to use for their own use cases. There's an opportunity there now to get funding, to continue funding your private thing through a public component. And we've seen that, we talked about all the benefits of why Pomelo is better than some of the other designs we came up with. Another one is this. We've actually seen a change in mindset and culture almost around this idea of building open source components. We had people come through with multiple drafts of their first Pomelo pitches. Their first pitch being completely off the mark on kind of getting the concept of what a public good is, and it was really a private good that they want to get funding for the private business. There is a public good buried somewhere deep in there, but there was no focus on making it usable for other people. them coming through this process, getting like their first application rejected, and then getting some feedback saying, hey, try focusing on this. I see that there might be a public good in there. And it kind of, we saw eyes open up saying, oh, yeah, I could make that a public good. That will benefit everybody. That's great. And they hadn't even thought about that prior. And now that there's an incentive, money on the table for them to start thinking that way, we're seeing more and more people. It's kind of creating a more collaborative ecosystem. And speaking about, you kind of talked about how there is, Corey, you've not been focusing on EOS recently. There's not much to focus on. One of the things we saw with Pomelo season 1, it was like, okay, we have a focal point for the community to focus on now.
Actually, yeah, just like there's a place for entity to start going, and that's like the thing that excites me most about that stuff is like all that's going to be cumulative.
Exactly.
Right? You're to your point, you're not only building the first tools, but you're building the mindset that has people focused on building public goods, which is a different mindset for a lot of people. Yeah. But like where that looks in a year, it's easy to start getting bullish about that, right?
Totally.
So like that, not only do you start getting compounding effects of all the tools that start working together, but the network effects of all the different people that start coming in and using all those tools. And it's, that seems like a really virtuous cycle that could just keep, churning.
Yeah. And we want to kind of create the same. So, Jimmy, you talked about how successful EOS Nation is at this point, 4 years later. We started, a little ragtag, 7 guys. There's one guy on our team, Denny, our CTO, who had all the tech knowledge and skills. Most of us were kind of more community oriented. How did we get to where we are now from there? It was just, day after day, chipping away, over time, compounding the value to the point where like now we've got this big, robust business with all these different lines of businesses doing different things, doing Pomelo, doing DeFi, doing, we're all over the place. Could we have done that when we started 4 years ago? Absolutely not. We had to build those skills. We had to iterate over time. So my dream is to, and again, I started as a nobody. I entered the EOS community as someone interested in EOS who wanted to start hosting some meetups. And now I'm the CEO of one of the top block producers. My dream for Pomelo is we get somebody enter the EOS ecosystem because they saw somebody's grant out there. They're like, oh, this is cool. Check it out. I want to donate to this grant. Discover the opportunity of becoming a grant owner. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. Maybe they're going to create a grant for themselves, iterate over time until eventually they get funded from outside. Like, I think a lot of the opportunity for funding in Pomelo goes way beyond the funding you can get from donors donating to Pomelo and the matching pool. The way that I see Pomelo, the true value of Pomelo is like you're building that reputation, you're iterating on a product, you're getting better and better. And then the real prize is maybe a VC now notices you, or the ENF notices you and gives you a big grant directly. So you come in, you notice EOS, you kind of get into this community, you pitch your wild idea, you improve it over time. Eventually, you get some big funding from ENF or a VC, and maybe one day you're a matching partner on Pomelo. Like you're sitting there next to the ENF as one of the people putting matching pool in place for the community.
Yo, Charlie Q, I think he's talking to you.
That's right.
No, I think it's really interesting. Seriously, behind the scenes, having been involved with other block producers and other projects and seeing various people from your organization come in and out, like you don't necessarily do yourself justice, Daniel, because like one of the things that I always knew about EOS Nation was there was that cool guy that used to do like the really cool like update posts and the weekly blogs, basically the video blogs and yeah. So, but yeah, like Denny, brilliant. Like I worked on him like in a couple DACs, like Eve, of course, like Corey and I both met him. we loved one of our first guests ever on our channel was Stefan or Stephanie. I'm not sure, I get confused there.
Stefan, yeah.
But yeah, like you guys are just like a stand-up team, and I like the fact that you're always just so open with the community. So yeah, I think that's like really important. Corey, did you have any other questions about Pomelo? Because I kind of wanted to move on to something else if you don't, but.
No, I definitely need to be one of those people that is participating more. Charlie, great idea. I'm totally into exploring it, and really like exploring that. Like if we did something with Shipple, which is again is like the joke token that I started. I gave it to Bullshipples and the community and stuff. But I'd love it's still sitting on EOS, right? Like that, it's still over there. We forked it over to Wax to play around with over here. So like starting from that and from I think. Charlie, you bringing up promoting NFTs on EOS, and I was just thinking, like in my mind, the Shipple token is inextricably just like it's memes to me, and I need more memes in my life anyway. But like, how do you like take those things and whatever kind of people want to get involved in, whatever superpowers we can bring to the table? But then, how do we make that into a public good, right? Like we have all those things, but how do we create that situation so that literally anybody could take whatever it is that we've done and run with it? And I think that's a fascinating question. I'm excited to explore that.
Well, and there isn't that many NFTs on EOS. There isn't any really. I think like EOSwriter, CryptoFinny, like they launched on EOS, and I think they're going to launch Underground.
Wombat's got tons
on EOS first.
There's 4 or 5 projects. Again, I don't know. There could be more from the last time that I checked. But yeah, on Atomic, there's like barely anyone using NFTs, and anybody could, right? Like it's a thing that's out there.
It's super powerful. We're using NFTs to promote Pomelo right now. I don't know if you guys followed the Pomelo season 2 NFT series we're doing, and it's a great way. We kind of got this lull between seasons on Pomelo. We do 4 seasons a year. A season lasts really only about a month. So what happens for those 2 months in between? We've been using these NFT kind of promo game things to raise money for so we're all of the primary sales from our NFT promo are going into the matching pool for Pomelo. So buying a Pomelo NFT, you get to feel good about you're actually donating. It's a donation to the matching pool. You get a little something for it that then you get to kind of play with. We got this, blend, buy these ingredients, blend them together. We got grant collectibles, collect all the trading cards of all the grants who participated in season 1, blend them together. We haven't even revealed all of the elements yet. That'll all come over the next week. But we raised 1,000 EOS in season 1 through our first NFT promo. And our goal is to raise 5,000 EOS for the season 2 promo, which we're on track to do. And ideally, every season we're growing that. So we're actually hopefully going to be, maybe a big chunk of our matching pool is actually raised from the community through these NFT promos. So we're kind of building a complete loop of funding.
So I kind of missed that. So how did the promos connect to? Do the promos connect to the grants, or are they something kind of separate?
There is an element that does. So we've got our grant collectibles are some of the assets that are part of this promo. So you can think of them. The inspiration was like baseball cards. The top 10 grants that participated in season 1 each get a baseball card kind of their grant with the stats, how much money they raised in season 1, how many donors they had. They get the little image, what category they're in. For this season, we've only did the top 10. In the future, I think we'll probably expand that to more. And it's an ingredient, having a grant collectible is one of the ingredients that you need to blend with what the other we've got our kimberlite, basically a rock. You blend this kimberlite with your grant collectible, you're going to be able to create a diamond potion. We haven't yet unveiled what the diamond potion does. But if you follow along in season 1, there might be some hints that you
might
get.
need to get my wizard cap out of the closet.
You might need, yeah.
So these ones that were released I'm guessing it's not a one of one because it's blendable, right? So a series, like a bunch of NFTs were released to the project, and then that project could divvy them out to the community. Is that how that
so we're selling? We gave the first 3 mints to the project owners. So mint 1, 2, and 3. If you were one of the top 10 grants, you would have received and the rest we sold packs. So you can, I think they've all been sold out now. But on Atomic Hub, we were selling grant collectible card packs. Before we were selling the collectible card packs, we were selling Kimberlite. I think there's still some Kimberlite for sale. Starting next week, we're going to unveil the blend recipe where you're going to be able to blend one of your collectible cards with 4 Kimberlites to create your diamond potion. And then that diamond potion is going to do something. In season 1, you were able to blend a bunch of ingredients into a tree that produced juicy pomelos that then you could blend into a golden pomelo, and then you can display the golden pomelo on your profile in Pomelo. You have a golden border around your profile picture.
As a permaculturalist, that doesn't work, but I really want it to. No, I like it though. It's interesting because that's the thing with, I think, NFTs, and we Corey and I had this discussion, well, with the rest of our team, really. It's like, why would the nice thing about NFTs is you can give them something in return for their donations, right? Like that's a really beautiful thing, right? Like, I mean, the closest thing that you're ever going to get is when you give a Boy Scout $1 and then you have an apple until you eat it, right? Like that you don't usually get something in return. Like maybe if you're a big donor, you get a plaque or something like that, right? But the majority of people who donate to things, they don't get it. And so I like this idea, and it's really interesting. I didn't know that much about it. Like I had saw that the thing had happened, but yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. So the idea is it's a donation, but you get a little souvenir out of it, and then you can proudly display it. That, hey, I donated to the season 1 matching pool. Look at my golden border. And we'll try to evolve that over time. We'll have more ways to flare up your Pomelo profile with NFTs.
But I mean, in a way, it's like a badge of your support. Right.
Exactly.
It's like I supported these projects, so I got one, right? And I really like that. I mean, it's something that we're kind of actively
and then we get
so.
We raised 5,000 EOS for the matching pool. So, ideally, eventually we're not. So right now our only matching partner is the ENF. We want to evolve a Pomelo into a place where it's not 100% dependent on the ENF. We want it to become independent. So we're looking for all kinds of opportunities to reduce our dependence on any one source of funding.
Yeah. So actually that brings me
NFTs.
to a question. That brings me to a question that I had was, so season 1 was entirely funded by the ENF. So season 2 then is funded by the ENF and these
ENF,
NFTs?
and then 5,000 EOS that we're raising through these NFTs. Actually, season 1 also was, again, 1,000 EOS that we raised. So season 1 also had a portion. This is .gems who's doing this NFT series for us.
Okay. So the whole series, because I wasn't sure if this was inclusive of .gems or if this was something a branch off of it.
Yeah. So .gems team is doing the series for us, but it's a Pomelo is the IP, I guess you could say. .gems is the NFT publishers. And they're helping us promote. And again, it's cool because we get to keep people thinking about Pomelo in the meantime. We're promoting Pomelo, we're raising funds for it, and we're giving the community an opportunity to, participate, kind of stay engaged in the process, while we're between seasons.
And for anyone who doesn't know, .gems is basically, I guess they're like a collaborative or another arm of EOS Nation, and they are kind of an art-based. You guys started on EOS as basically an NFT kind of line, but you branched out to a lot of places. So I guess Pomelo, in a way, is kind of bringing it back, which is quite interesting as well.
Yeah. They're doing a lot of stuff on Wax, on EOS. And they're experimenting with kind of cool, a lot of the stuff like metaverse, and they got the VRGB, virtual reality, graffiti battles, and street. Yeah, they're kind of bringing culture to NFTs and onto EOS and Wax.
Cool.
So I like working with Corey. He's like, one of my best friends and all.
Oh,
And I think he likes working with me.
okay, confirm.
But sometimes we just don't go live because we just, hang out. And sometimes we get all lovey and sometimes we get all bitchy. It really depends on the day. However, Corey, I'm not sure if you've seen these recently, but I have to bring this up.
Uh-oh.
Because we're talking about EOS Nation.
Yep.
Have you seen these recent, from a person that we both love and adore, and we love having him on the show anytime, any chance we can get, Yves LaRose. Have you seen these recent Yves LaRose rants where he just goes on, he just goes on for about anywhere from 3 to 7 minutes about, what's bothering him throughout the day. It kind of sounds like some of the conversations we have. And I just need to, go down deep and dirty into the realism of what used to be. Now, was this like a portion that was sectioned off in your old EOS Nation meetings? Did you guys just have Eve rant time? Because I'm kind of curious about that. I mean,
we all go off on our rant. We've got a pretty tight-knit team. 7 of us. We all got strong opinions. So we've definitely heard our fair Eve rants, and likewise, each of us have our own ranting opportunities. But yeah, it's great to be able to now see Eve's rants get captured and shared for the whole community to benefit from.
So I think it's great, right? So I wanted to kind of ask about your opinion, as my segue, if you didn't figure it out, of the EOS Network Foundation and Eden on EOS, because both of them are kind of in a way contributing towards Pomelo as well, as I understood it. So if you want to maybe shout them out.
Yeah. I think so ENF is critical. Pomelo couldn't exist without ENF. So, we get our matching funds from them. So they, I see, okay, let's talk about kind of the EOS ecosystem and what the different, how I see ENF, Eden, and Pomelo kind of fitting into the grander ecosystem. So the ENF is the expression of the consensus of the token holders, in a way. They were token holders elected block producers who elected the ENF to be basically the block producers' representative to manage the treasury of the savings account that the block producers put into the stewardship of the ENF, with the mandate of the ENF being the body to kind of coordinate and fund the network's public goods and, lead the vision and spearhead the development of the network. Elected from the token holders to create kind of this top-down, funding mechanism. Pomelo is sort of the bottom-up counterbalance to that. It's, the ENF funds Pomelo, and then Pomelo gets the wisdom of the crowd to surface the funding opportunities from the grassroots. Eden is, from what I see, it's less about necessarily funding public goods, whereas ENF is funding big top-down and public good initiatives. So they're the ones providing Pomelo and Eden their budgets. Pomelo is surfacing opportunities for the community from the bottom up. And I see Eden as sort of like it's less things, but more teams, like administrative. It's Eden is like organization, almost like a club that has a process to getting members and getting funding to give their members a budget. And then it's up to them to kind of determine, what is this club mandate? What are we going to do with this club? Take that funding and, build different, offices, sort of. It's almost like the administrative branch of EOS. It's like you need a place to go, and things like the EOS support came out of Eden, which is, I think, a great example of the type of stuff we might see coming out of Eden. Could have also come out of Pomelo, but I see, Pomelo a place for experimenting on products. Eden is more experimenting on communities.
I'm interested to see what happens next, because we've got this kind of community now that is doing community funding. We've got the ENF, which is suing Block One again. I'm just gonna leave that there. I want to ask you your take on it, but like, if you don't want to answer, I kind of get that. But then we've also got new notions coming out from Dan Larimer. And, what he's doing with his team, some of which used to belong to Block One, others which have been, strong community members like John Williamson of Violet Garden, who are working together with the core team that put together the voting mechanism, I guess, on Eden over at BitShares and Clarion. And like, I don't really know what comes next, if I'm honest about it, because like, these are kind of like, there's a social platform, a voting mechanism that's all probably due to hit the market within the next 6 to 8 months. And these are all like kind of Dan's like brain children. And then you've got like a whole other community that's like saying, screw you, we're going to get our own funding, right?
I'm still, yeah. I guess the white paper comes out today. Fractali's white paper for Dan's, I guess, Eden 2.0, I believe is what's going to be covered in the white paper. I haven't seen it yet. I think it's coming out later today. So I'm really excited to see how the vision for Eden has evolved. I'm not sure that it's still exactly what it was before. We'll see how much it's in line with the members of Eden, even. I'm not sure. I get the sense that Eden is kind of evolving in a direction, perhaps, that even the people who are currently participating in Eden are not fully aware or on board with. But I guess we'll see. We're gonna, but yeah,
So
we haven't read the white paper yet.
Speaking of like what we don't know, because I think I haven't made up my mind on this, and again, we're all biased in our own ways. The ENF is going to sue Block One.
Well, they're collecting community feedback on whether or not to sue Block One.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. And Dan is in opposition.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, I would say, we're a decentralized network. I think it's clear that there's a lot of unresolved issues there. So, a lot of the community thinks that this is really important, that Block One can't be let to get away with what they got away with. I think it's important to give the community the opportunity to go through that process if we choose that that's the path we want to take. So I think there was some misunderstanding from, the ENF made a kind of a big splash with their initial announcement that this is something that's happening. But I think since then they've released more information that sort of clarifies we're in a collecting feedback from the community sort of phase. So depending on what kind of feedback we get from the community, I think is going to determine the path that the foundation takes. I think it's very important that we hear out the community. Like we can't, trying to sweep this under the rug is not going to be healthy for the community at all. So just because there are some vocal people in the community who are totally opposed to this, pretending it didn't happen and hiding it is not going to be good for anyone. We got to get it out there in the open, talk about it, get all the community kind of perspective, and go from there.
Corey, it looks like you might have a thought or two there.
No, I just saw Sean's comment. I was actually going to post it up there, and you did instead. I mean, that, like, history's a bitch because we can all see it. But yeah, Sean said if Dan sees a way to build something better, he's going to do it at the expense of what's already been built. Rinse, repeat. And that, like, you could argue the framing, right? But like you can't argue that he will move on and build something else. And I mean that, you know, there's logic behind that, right? I mean, that you could be, you know, down the road on a system and realize that what you think should be built, you know, can't be built from that necessarily. So it's tough. I mean, you know, more people can go build more stuff. You're going to find out it's a little challenging.
But that might be that might be the differentiation between the projects that survive and the projects that don't. Like the WPS wasn't a bad idea, but Pomelo is a lot freaking better.
Right.
Like,
right.
Like, right.
Right.
Like,
And
Uplift version 1.0
yeah.
was okay, and 2.0 we think is going to be a lot better, right? We got Crypto Finnies who came out with their, you know, premier project. And then they decided to launch on Ethereum, and they're like, well, this fucking sucks. We don't know how to deal with this. So let's launch underground and make it better for everyone, right? Like, I think this is where, like, you know, movers in the space sort of gravitate to.
Yeah. And one of the great things about EOS is its flexibility. And, like, the fact that we have all of these different kind of in parallel experimenting with different things that can all win. I think, you know, Dan, the ENF is setting Dan and his team up with an opportunity to be able to deliver on his vision, perhaps better than where he might anywhere else. Like, he's got a budget. EOS actually has a pretty good market cap. You know, it's not as big as we wanted it to be at this stage, but it's got a big enough market cap to have a treasury that we can use to fund things like Dan's vision. We've learned a lot. You know, we saw that he had the opportunity to experiment with Eden 1.0, and now he's going to be having the opportunity to experiment with 2.0. We're not going to be 100% aligned on every single thing, which is normal in a decentralized community. So, you know, Dan's not always going to agree with everything the ENF does. ENF's not always going to agree with everything Dan does. But that's, I think, healthy for a decentralized network.
Well, and you can imagine where the ENF is looking at this, thinking like, wow, imagine if we had a $4 billion treasury, right? Like,
right.
the treasury that we were supposed to have. Imagine if we could plug that in. You know, we couldn't because of corporatism, and it's, yeah. I mean, we're on the Cryptowriter channel, so I kind of get to say whatever I want to say. So yeah, I love the other places that I work for, but this is a representation of me being on the Cryptowriter channel, not them, which is why I kind of threw you under the bus right down, because I'm not allowed to say what I want to say sometimes, or I have to be careful what I say sometimes because I've got to filter it over on my block producer end of things, because I don't want to get them in trouble, although they're, you know, they're pretty upfront and forgiving about these types of things. But you know, for me, what was interesting is last week there was a post that came out from Brendan Bloomer that was basically, you know, asking, you know, a question and then blocking all comments from people who weren't, you know, whitelisted to comment. And I thought that this was actually quite hilarious. And I thought this was really funny. Like, it was on Twitter and it's supposed to be open source. And I'm just, I just, like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get where they kind of came from. And then they decided to renegotiate this whole plot. So I think for me personally, my idea is, if you want to sue them, you should sue them. And I was just actually a little bit surprised that Dan stood in the way, because I was a little bit critical when Dan left Block One in the way that he did it. And I wrote an article about it. And I said there's two possible alternatives here. And the second one, which is he comes back to the community, was the one that I had actually said, and I was really happy that he had done that. And then he created Eden, and he created all these other things. And as Sean said, he's created all of these things, and his critics are usually primarily from other blockchains that are saying he never follows through. But what happens when the day he follows through on all of these things together as one unified object, like comes about, it's going to be amazing, right? And so we've got like so much ability in terms of the technical power and the technical capacity of EOS. I mean, for example, in what other blockchain can we find? Would you be able to prevent an attack or, a hack in the way that we can in EOS, right? And you guys have like kind of firsthand experience with this, right? Like when there's a hack in EOS, what happens is very different from when there's a hack on Ethereum or when there's a hack on these other blockchains, right? Because 15 out of 21 block producers can come together, and it takes a flipping long time. It takes 24 hours for you guys to rally all the data and get all that data together, but you're able to block the accounts. And this is what the mainstream security kind of needs to be able to buy into this whole system, right? You can't have this Ethereum level, well, I'm sorry, you got hacked and you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, but that's blockchain. You can't have that blasé-faire type of thing, right?
I mean, you can't. They just won't show up, right? I mean, that's ultimately what's gonna happen.
Right.
So yeah,
I think there's room for all of these different flavors out there. There's
agreed.
There's trade-offs in every approach.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a future where there's a pretty diverse mix of flavors of blockchains that are optimized for the particular use cases that they're addressing. I don't see the little guys thriving on Ethereum currently with the way the fees are. And right now Ethereum is as a chain for whales to splash around with other whales. EOS and all the other EOSIO chains are much more well positioned to be able to serve the use cases of the non-whales. And I think we're going to be, they make certain choices and to optimize for those audiences. And I think we'll, even within EOS, we can see many different, or EOSIO, we could see kind of various adaptations of those flavors, and I think it's great to we'll be more resilient the more options we all have. If we can, like Dan says, having the ability to secede is very important. But if you don't have any other alternative to secede to, you don't really have the ability to secede. I'm also in Canada, so thinking very much about the importance of building systems that you can secede from, and that can maintain your independence from outside influence. But there's all kinds of trade-offs in all the different solutions there. Sean's
on vacation from Miami to Canada. He's got a whole host of tales that you can tune into on The Edge, which is a different Cryptowriter show. But we go into that in much more detail and much more less of a formal affair weekly. He's from Miami, and he's got 53 minutes until he can get on the slopes. And it's basically cool runnings. I surmise. I'm pretty sure that's what happens. But yeah, I thought you had a burner phone. I thought you were going to burn the phone so that you weren't tracked in Canada. I thought that's what was going to happen, Sean. We don't know what's happening in the world. I mean, Canada's become Canada in the modern age. Anyway, so I don't want to get all political, but yeah, 3 Canadians here, and we're really happy to have you. Daniel, do you have anything that you want to ask before we wrap this up, Corey? Anything you want to touch on?
No, I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited to have you back. Obviously, like the people that want to start getting the word out about what they've accomplished on their Pomelo grants, and Jimmy's talking about getting media out.
Yeah.
Let them know they can come chat with us or come on the Uplifter show. That way, I can start getting caught up.
Are you guys gonna be doing more of those Pomelo things this time around? You think?
Yeah, so we're gonna respin up. I'm gonna respin up the Gener EOS Pomelo pitch decks. We're gonna do that. But likewise, we're always happy to host people on the Uplifters channel. And it appears that from today that Corey's actually going to join us in some of the Pomelo pitch decks too, which is going to be really fun. So we'll have the double forked frontier. I think that's a Canadian pitchfork because that's what you call it. Anyway, I've gone too far now.
Yeah, and come out to if you're not in the EOS community Discord server yet, get in there. We're going to be doing we do the weekly roundtables. So it's audio. Everyone, Eve's there, I'm there. We got people from all over the community just casually hanging out, talking about what's going on in EOS, low pressure. And I'm sure as we ramp up towards season 2 of Pomelo, there's going to be a lot more people in there talking about their Pomelo pitches.
What time? What time is that actually, and what day?
That's on every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
In the Discord, in the EOS community Discord server. So yeah, join us on Discord if you're not in there already. It's a lot of fun. And then there's Friday gaming nights. Come play Blancos or poker or something like that. It's 3 p.m. every Friday Eastern time. And
but Blancos isn't on EOS. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah. but we still give it some love every now and then.
No, I mean, like, seriously, like, go hang out in the Discord. The communities are awesome. The chat people are awesome. And it's a little bit more organized than the randomized Telegram. Nothing against Telegram, but like, you guys have got some cool events that are going on, and definitely go check them out. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Daniel. It's always a pleasure. It's always an honor. I'm really excited for Pomelo season 2 and to see what comes out. As you said, the grants haven't been submitted yet. Do you have any timeline on that before we go, or are you not quite sure yet?
We'll be announcing the timelines probably this week. Expect it'll be like towards the end of March is when we're opening it up.
Cool.
Late March, people can start submitting grants, and about a week later, donations open. So I would say don't wait until we open up for submissions. Start getting your application ready now, so that when we open it, it's ready to submit.
Oh yeah. All right, game on.
All right, thanks, guys.
That looks like a finger chop. What's going on right now?